Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Oxygen Not Included. In the previous episode we finished the plastic production here in our little oil refinery slash polymer press room, and it seems to be working phenomenally, also temperature wise thus far. Now that we have access to plastics, it's finally time to build our purification system. I've been working on this concept for a while. It is actually a little bit difficult with just one liquid reservoir. What you usually would do is just line up a bunch of these reservoirs in order to clean up the polluted water. Well, it's not polluted, the churny water. And by the time they enter the 5th tank or so, they should definitely be cleaned up. But I don't think this is elegant enough. I want to use some automation. People told me it's not possible with automation, but I'm gonna show you otherwise. However, there is something we need to understand first of all. Let's get into piping a little bit. The liquid bridges come with a white input and a green output. Everything that's white has priority and everything that's green gives way. And this is really important. So imagine we have some water coming from the bottom. It's meeting up with the output of the bridge and turning to the right. Now let's say we also have some water flowing in from the left side. This is not gonna have priority because green does give way. So everything coming from the bottom will get priority and everything going through the liquid bridge will wait until it has some space to go. These pipes, for instance, we could lead them straight through all of the inputs. It's gonna have priority in the input, so it's gonna fill up the first sink and then it's gonna continue if it cannot serve the priority. However, we cannot do the same thing on the other side because green doesn't have priority. That means everything coming from this pipe going through that direction is gonna get priority and therefore these sinks cannot empty out as long as there is stuff coming from the first sink. If you understood the priorities, we can get started building this system. We're gonna need to get things started with a liquid pump. I'm also gonna build this out of gold amalgam just to be sure. We might exceed the 75 degrees. I highly doubt it, but you never know. We're gonna continue with some insulated piping and I wanna lead this, let's see, we're gonna go through the floor with this and we wanna bring this into our water sieves. So all the polluted water and the churny water we have in this tank is gonna go through the sieves. You can put in churny water into the sieves, you're not gonna destroy them. However, you should probably avoid all other liquids. Everything is gonna get scrubbed, so we get some churny water back. And this churny water is what we wanna bring into this tank. So let's go ahead and try to do that. We are just gonna bridge over here, then come down here into the tank. However, we're gonna need to have a liquid shutoff here. And so before we go too crazy, let me explain you the scenario we are trying to provoke here. We're gonna work with two liquid shutoffs. One is gonna be right here, holding the churny water back, and then another liquid shutoff that is gonna prevent churny water from actually getting into our pure water tank. We don't want the churny stuff, we only want the good stuff. In order to achieve that, we have to apply some trickery. We're gonna build one liquid shutoff right here, and then another one I can probably set up here. Yeah, that should be good. So obviously we're gonna input our churny water into this shutoff. So if you think about it, you will always have a problem. As soon as you send out the water and new churny water is coming into the tank is gonna immediately equal out the numbers. So even just a little bit of germs going into the tank is gonna make more germs go into your fresh water. At this point we want to get the liquid into the tank and then we want to create an infinite loop. Only inside of the tank we can get rid of the germs. So everything that stays in a pipe is going to remain with their germs intact, and therefore we want the water to flow in and out of the tank in an infinite loop, and as soon as we don't have any more germs we're going to send the water into the fresh water tank. For the infinite loop, in theory, we want to go straight back into the input of the tank. However, we now need to think about the priorities. I'm first going to go ahead and actually loop back down because we're going to need the space and I want to get closer to the liquid shutoff. We're going to make our way right here and then we want to set up a liquid bridge. So this is going to have priority. The water is first going to try to go into this spot. And if this spot is already full, then it's gonna go into the other direction. Now I'm gonna need enough space. We then kind of want to loop around here and join with this. However, we're gonna have some priority problems with this as well. So let's set up another bridge right here. Remember, green doesn't have priority. So that means everything coming from this direction is gonna have priority, and we just bring this over and up. So if we have a full pipe right here, nothing new can actually go in. It won't really matter because we have this shut off turned off, but it's just another security level. Finally, we need to hook this up here as well, and it would be preferable to actually prime this with clean water. The way this contraption is gonna work, we're always gonna have some clean water in this spot, and also the liquid shutoff. This is gonna be clean water, so we need to make sure before we run it the first time this is clean water. Anyways, let's get into the automation. We're gonna need a liquid pipe churn sensor, and I'm gonna set it up at this spot. So as soon as we have some new churny water coming in, it's gonna go through here and up there, and as soon as it hits the sensor, I want to shut off the flow to my fresh churn-free water. Now we're gonna make use of the signals of the liquid tank. You can see here it sends out a green signal when the reservoir is less than the low threshold. So let's just check out this reservoir. Let's say we put this to 30% and then put this to, I don't know, 90%. This means we're gonna have a green signal at the 30% mark, and when it goes back up to 90%, we're gonna have a red signal until it is back down to 30%. And this is extremely useful for this contraption. At the moment the tank is empty, so it's gonna send a green signal to this liquid shutoff and therefore letting churny water flow in. The liquid shutoff right here, eventually going to our pure water tank, should be turned off at this point, so this currently green signal should be a red signal. However, there are other conditions. We don't only want the tank to be empty, we also want the pipes to be churn free. This means we want to set up an AND gate and a NOT gate. Let me explain you a little bit further. We're gonna set up the NOT gate right here. So it's gonna go from a green signal right here to a red signal, and then we just shut off this liquid. So as long as this liquid shut off is turned on, this one is gonna be turned off. So two conditions need to be right. We can put an AND gate probably, yeah, let's put it right there. We need to hook up this wire from the NOT gate. So you go to the first condition, this needs to be true, and then also the churn sensor should register no churns at all. So this is the second condition, and if both of these are true, then finally we're gonna turn on the liquid shutoff. Now I just see there is a connection that should not be right there. It is not extremely complicated, and I probably could have laid it out in a better way, but this surely is going to work. Now all I need to prevent is actual churny water flowing in before we are ready with the entire contraption and have set up everything. I also hooked up the necessary power. It's actually not too bad. It's just like 10 watts for each liquid shutoff and then 240 watts for the pump. My Stonehenge farms, by the way, are coming along, and every now and then we can also crack a couple of eggs, which is actually quite satisfying. But there we go, my dupes are working their asses off. It's a beautiful sight. Of course, as mentioned, we're gonna need to prime our loop with fresh water. So what I'm gonna do is just input some fresh water from our storage, and then we're gonna disable this line again. We just need a tiny little bit. I think to help out future projects, I want to do a little bit of sweeping here at the bottom in order to get the lead. At the moment, in order to build something out of lead in my base, they always have to go all the way down to the oil biome. Oh, look at this. Otto the researcher is running around with some plastics. What is he gonna build? Hopefully the sensor. Yes. Oh, look at this, we're already done. We're pumping out the polluted water and also, you know, normal churny water if we have it in here. It's going into the water sieves and then it's coming out right here as normal churny water, so no more polluted. So I will probably just want to bridge over here, connect this over there and set up a liquid vent. This way we should be able to safely get rid of the fresh water we have again, and just as a reference, yeah, this is germ-free water at the moment. There we go, that's what I'm talking about. Getting rid of the water, we can get rid of this as well, and then not dig. We want to reconnect it. What we now have is fresh germ-free water in all of these pipes, and this is the most important part. So if we now bring in new germy water, it is gonna fill up the tank to the specified amount. At the moment it's 90%. Let's maybe go with a lower percent so we can first check it out. We are gonna do 40% as the high threshold and then 10% as the low threshold. We also need to tell this liquid pipe germ sensor to give a green signal if the germs are below 0. We could probably also do 1, but below 0 works just as well. So checking the automation, at the moment it is a green signal. However, the tank is not full yet, so we still don't open this liquid shutoff, and this is very important. Now we can actually enter the churmy water. Let's maybe save first. So once we connect this, we should be seeing the water flowing. Great. And it is open. If we check this, the liquid shutoff is open at the moment. This means the water is going to flow in, and then it's going to come through the sensor, shutting off the liquid shutoff here if it wasn't shut off anyways. And then it's going to continue filling up the tank. And that is the great thing about priorities. You can really decide which side should go in first. And we can now see here, this is going to be accumulating a lot of germs that are going to be killed off rapidly. And then as soon as we hit the 40%, let's maybe do 50% so we know exactly where it is. It is at 2,500 kilograms. But as long as we don't hit the mark, the storage is not going to send out a red signal. Once we get the red signal, this is going to be green. The first condition is going to be true. The water is then going to cycle through the reservoir and also the germ sensor. So as soon as the germ sensor doesn't detect any germs anymore, we will empty out the reservoir to the low threshold. Make sure your thresholds are not 100% and not 0%, obviously. And now the signals should be switching. Yeah, there we go. We have a red signal. This is green. And now we should be seeing the infinite loop at work. Oh my god, I made a mistake. I'm such a noob. I'm such a freaking noob. This should not be connected. What we should see connected is this. And what should not be connected is this pipe here. This bridge should actually be the other way around. You know, here's me talking about priorities and then I'm not doing it right. Let's see, this needs to happen really, really fast. Please, someone come immediately. Well, nothing is happening at the moment, so maybe it doesn't really matter. What I wanted to do is have priority from the loop, of course. We want the loop to have priority so we can send it through the germ sensor back into the tank. But yeah, that kind of proves it. The system so far is fail-proof. We are also not reliant on new germy water or so. It doesn't really matter how much water we have as long as this one here is primed. And now that we primed it, it's never going to be unprimed. So just finish that pipe. Thank you very much. And now we have our damn it. So something just happened that wasn't supposed to happen. I think this is a one-time occurrence. But now we do actually have germy water here. Oh man, these are my only 3 germ-free water pockets. Why did you have to go? Okay, this is a little bit of a pity, but I promise you the future loads are gonna be germ-free. Well, this was a germ-free load, but there is gonna be a not so germ-free load the next time. Anyways, you can see the infinite loop is at work at the moment. We are killing off the germs. Right here you can see how many germs we still have in each packet. And there it just switched to 0 germs. So we have both conditions true and the water can flow. This is now all germ-free water, at least the water that was in the tank. And the beautiful thing about this is as soon as we hit the low threshold, new germy water is going to be coming in and our fresh liquid shutoff is going to be primed right away with the water we already had in the tank. So I'm just waiting for the 10% mark, which just happened. So we now have the germy water flowing back in and we have the area primed with still fresh water. So let's see that happen. Yeah, there we go. And now we're filling up the tank again. Let's put up the threshold now. I'm going to put it to 90% so we are actually getting a full load of this stuff. Now, obviously, because I failed in the beginning, we have a little bit of germs in here, but I promise you, these are going to be the last germs. So as soon as we got rid of them, they are going to disappear over time. Seeing that none of the germy water has reached my tanks thus far, I think I'm just going to cut this off and we are going to recycle the entire water pool we have here. You know, mistakes happen, but I'm so sure about my system that I think we can clean this water out just recycling it again. I just love that this is not reliant on cycles or anything, it is reliant on pure numbers. So if we miss anything, if we don't have enough water, if we don't have enough chlorine, it doesn't matter. There's nothing that can go wrong at this point. I cannot really recycle the water if I bring in new fresh water every time. So I think what I'm gonna do is set up a bunch more of these liquid reservoirs and we're gonna fill them up. So I'm gonna let this run for a little bit and come back to update you, but you can see all the water that we have purified is now going into the liquid tanks for now. We should have proof that it's actually working. No germs in each of these liquid tanks. Yes. Great, I'm gonna be right back. One thing I might be doing is set up a bunch of plastic ladders so I can get around my base a bit quicker. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna use plastic ladders, and maybe I'm also gonna replace the dupe beds with comfy beds. So right here, this might be a change that you will see after we've exchanged all the water. So there was a mistake, a costly mistake, but we take it like men and just recycle it. See ya in just a bit with all germ-free water. We are back a couple of cycles later, and as promised, I filtered all of the water. As you can see, it is now completely germ-free, just a bunch of new water is incoming and still no surface germs. So this is working out perfectly. I added a little hydro sensor here with 500 kilos and above, so this pump is not always pumping the entirety of the water out, and therefore we can still use the pitcher pump. As you can see, I also upgraded all of our beds. I also started to do some more decorations, and I replaced the ladders with plastic. This is gonna make them much faster going up there. Another thing I did as I waited is I dug out the entirety of the area that I want to use as my future power system. Now we already have quite a high pressure in this area, so maybe eventually we should also make use of that oxygen just floating around. As indicated, the next step I want to take is essentially centralize my power production and distribution. In the power category, we find these power transformers. They are gonna play a crucial role, but first of all, let's set up the battery room. We want to regulate the temperature in there, so I think this is gonna be the first thing I'm gonna build out of ceramic. Though, no, actually igneous rock is gonna be enough for that. I'm gonna keep the ceramic, as we don't really get a lot of it. To get into this room, as usual, I want to set up a liquid lock right there. Then we're gonna have 6 batteries in a row and another 6 batteries on the bottom floor. Though thinking about this, it would be nice to have a corridor going all the way to the left side of the map right here. So I think I'm gonna set up the battery room on the top. Alright then, there it is, my battery room. We're gonna have 2 Wii-swords. One should be enough in order to cool down 6 batteries, so we have 12 batteries in total, which also means we can have 12 different power systems that we can influence individually. What we might be able to make use of is the new automation ribbon. So we can actually combine a whole bunch of automation cables and use up less space. This is ingenious. But yeah, let's go ahead and let my dupes build this room so we can get started centralizing our power system. The first system I'm gonna centralize is actually my coal power generation. So we're gonna have a bunch of coal generators, maybe even supplying them automatically with coal. Actually, we should think about doing that immediately. Could I just go ahead and do something like that? Then maybe a smart storage. That can go right there. Then all we need is an auto sweeper, also made out of lead, that can go here, and it should be able to reach all of the generators this way. We probably don't even need a smart storage. I think the auto sweeper can also take from a normal storage bin. Just checking my purification system again, it still seems to be working. No surface germs right here. Also no germs in my tanks. Gotta love it. There's new purified water coming in. Everything is fine, and I mean, look at this. This is how it looks before. We can then essentially do the same thing with the oxygen that we want to purify and distribute it in our base. This is the first time I'm using the ribbon cable, so what I'm suspecting is we need to use a ribbon writer in order to write it on the ribbon cable, and then we can take the signal again with the reader. So we're just gonna test that theory by placing a bunch of these, and then maybe at the bottom as well. Can I do that? Ooh. So maybe to keep it symmetrical, I'm gonna attach them like so. We can then have automation wires going into the writers. And then as of this point, they can all join the ribbon cable. That should be working out. Man, this is amazing. Just to test it, I also want to take a reader and see what we can actually do with it. But this ribbon cable is surely going to make the automation of which generators we want to activate at which battery level much easier. Another thing we can already start setting up that is going to take a while is the heavy watt wire. Now, you don't want to place this wire nearby a place where dupes run by a lot. This has a highly negative decor, and this is why we run our centralized power system outside of the base for the most part. In the future, we're actually going to use heavy watt conductive wire because they can take 50 kilowatts, and at the moment I don't see why we shouldn't do that, because we can build that out of lead, while the heavy watt wire can only take 20 kilowatts, and we have to build it out of one of our precious ores. In order to build this, we need the electrical engineering skill. Let's check that out actually. Does one of our... no, electrical engineering. So, we can actually apply the skill point. So Otto the researcher will be able to build these. There is literally no reason now not to build the heavy watt conductive wires. So we want to run this through all of our batteries. Now the problem about this wire is it cannot run through walls. So that's going to be another issue we have to tackle. Now usually in vanilla you would use the heavy watt conductive plate in order to run it through a wall. However, this is also conducting the heat, and then you have to make a little vacuum pocket, and that is just one of the mechanics I don't like about the game. I also think there should be insulated heavy watt conductive plates, and that's why I installed this mod. We can choose to build this out of igneous rock and lead, and then we are just going to replace this tile in order to be able to continue running our cable all the way to the power generation. So this is going to happen right here. We're just going to hook this up to all of our coal generators. And if we want, we can also directly hook it up to the auto sweeper. In the storage bin right here between the coal generators, of course, we want to store some coal, and we're going to give this a fairly high priority, 6. But we are going to give the coal generator a priority of 1. They're going to be supplied automatically and not by the dupes anymore. I intentionally left a little bit of space free, and I'm gonna do this for each level so we can set up a power transformer. We should actually be doing that right away so we can get rid of a bunch of our coal generators. Looks like in the top portion of our base we have 3 circuits we need to take care of. One of the circuits is exceeding the 1k limit. So I think what I'm gonna do is set up 2 small transformers. Actually, we have to get rid of those deodorizers first, but 2 small transformers and then 1 large one for the bigger circuit. The large power transformer takes up 3 spaces. I built them all out of gold amalgam. At the moment, we're just gonna let the general gases cool down the system. What we want is to run our main cable all the way into the inputs of the generators, and then the outputs are going to be regulated, so they're not going to let the cables overload anymore. Gonna bring this first guy all the way over here, and then we're gonna go up in order to supply our exosuit stations. The second wire is gonna go up here all the way over, and it's gonna join with this wire. That's already 2 generator setups we can get rid of. Oh, I took this from the wrong generator. Of course, this should go right there. Last but not least, we need to take the conductive wire that can take up to 2 kilowatts. Also build this out of lead. Gonna bring this over and up and over. Actually, we need to bring it up here. This generator setup, of course, will be gone as well once this is all built. There's one final circuit we want to supply for the time being, and a normal transformer is gonna be enough for this. Now, actually, I need to be careful. Of course, we need to build a couple of bridges as well. So 1 conductive bridge here, then a normal bridge right there and there. I'm so glad we can get rid of all the generators that are hanging around the base. In the planter boxes, of course, we want to plant a wort seed. Now, this entire room I want to fill up with hydrogen. So we might be interested in an electrolyzer setup next. Also note, by the way, this water is coming out quite cold, and you can see this is probably because we are in this cold room. So the temperature in here is already near 19 degrees, slowly sinking as it is being purified. The Weezwort is not going to be able to keep up over time, but still, it's a nice starting effect. Hold on, we have a bunch of these ribbon cables ready. Okay, so we only have 4 bits. I see. We have 12 batteries, so we will need to run 3 cables. That means we could go ahead and run these cables over yonder. You know what? To make it more symmetrical, let me take all of this apart, and we're actually gonna flip it around, so it's gonna be on the top. The cycles are passing extremely quickly now, I have to say. We have almost pumped out our waste room. All of our reservoirs are full, germ-free. Gotta love it. So it's soon time to pump up the polluted water, so we can use the room down there for something more useful. I've also set up all of the ribbon cables, so we have our 4 battery sets. This is the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one in this order from top to bottom. So what I want to do with these is run them down my centralized storage system, just like that. And I think that might actually look pretty nifty. This also means it's time to set up the liquid lock. Actually, let's make this out of brine, just because we have too much of it. Once we got all the ribbon writers placed, we should be able to set them up. So this would be bit 2, for instance. Same thing down here. This is bit 1, and then this would be bit 2. You know what? Thinking about this is a complete overkill. What we could do is combine 3 batteries into one signal. And so we have 4 different stages. That would already be enough, and it would actually also match 1 ribbon cable. So I think that's actually what I'm gonna do. But it's gonna be much faster now. I mean, this took a couple of cycles, but we have all the materials already here, so how to do that? I guess the first thing I want to do is cancel all the automation stuff. Well, I'm gonna be right back. There we go. This is much better, makes much more sense. This is gonna be bit 1, then we have bit 2, this is bit 3, and then finally bit 4. The intention of these 4 layers is to enable generators that use the less important resources or the less consequential resources first. At the moment we only have coal generators, but soon enough we're gonna make use of the natural gas, for instance, maybe even the petroleum. The top number is always gonna be 95. Let's say there are generators that are gonna activate at number 80. So at 80% of our overall capacity, bit number 1 is gonna activate. Bit number 2 is gonna activate at 60%. Bit number 3 is gonna activate at 40% right there. And bit number 4 is gonna activate at 20%. So we only want bit number 4 to activate if really nothing else can handle the power needs we are experiencing at that time. We would then continue the ribbon cable all the way down our power production, and every now and then when we need it, we can take the ribbon writer. Let's go ahead and add that right here, and out comes the automation. This is just absolutely amazing. Okay, we got everything in place. Looks like in order to kickstart this, we just need a tiny bit of power. Wait, hold on. Why is this a red signal? This should be green. Of course, I'm an idiot. We need a reader. And there it is. Bit 1. Alright, the coal generators are enabled. That means now somebody should be bringing that coal. Just a little bit. Thank you, that's all I needed. Our centralized power unit is now functional. That means we can hook up the cables, and I'm gonna disconnect the previous systems and take them apart completely. Actually, I'm gonna need the oxygen production here, and we want to disconnect the smart battery and power generator there. We can also get rid of this setup. This is actually great. We can get rid of this completely and gain a lot more space for construction. Last but not least, we have this one here, which is provided with power currently. And so once these deconstruct commands are completed, we have officially moved the power outside of the base. Great, everything is running again off these coal generators. It looks as though the auto sweeper does its job, so it is filling up these guys. I think we could have used the normal storage chest. And it looks as though it can only really reach the 2 inner generators. So in between the episodes I might swap around this scenario a little bit so we can take advantage of all the coal generators. I might also be setting up a gas pump here in order to expel all of the liquids we still have hanging around that are not oxygen. And then I guess we can get started on a whole bunch of new things in the next episode. With that out of the way, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Have a great time and see you soon. Bye bye.